welcome to Coach's Corner, everybody. Thanks for watching the show. I'm your host, Coach Paul Tripoli, Coach Trip to my players, and four-wheel drive edition on Coach's Corner every Wednesday night. To my left, Billy Pendock.
Yeah.
Great defensive tackle at Syracuse, played a few years in the pros, and below me, Blaze Winter, another defensive tackle at Syracuse University, 12-year NFL vet. Talk about some NFL stuff in future shows, especially your amazing defensive line. This is four-wheel drive, as you can see in my background. Timmy Green, number 72, up there, All-American at Syracuse, and Jamie Kimmel is the other wheel in the four-wheel drive in the early 80s. Syracuse dominated, beat Boston College, beat Doug Flutie. You guys, Blaze, we were just talking off air about you playing in the 1983 North-South, what was it? The
Blue-Gray All-Star
game. The Blue-Gray All-Star game. Yeah, I played in 84 with Bruce Smith and Jerry Rice. But talk a little bit about that 83 and what it did for your career.
Well, hey, man, you know what? Billy remembers, I was very fortunate that when Coach Mack in the media room sort of announced that, hey, you were invited to the Blue-Gray All-Star game, and I'm, my heart went through my mouth, out my chest, and I just, I was so excited about that opportunity to play against other, All-Americans and great players, and so we flew down there, and I don't know, about a week or so earlier, and my roommate, believe it or not, Billy, was Pete Koch. And I walk in the room, and before I knew, and he's standing there in his underwear, and he's like, he is chiseled at 285. He's chiseled, just like a bodybuilder. I'm like, what? I'm just a guy. You know what I mean? And I'm like, holy mackerel, is this what I'm facing? And anyway, on game day, it was one of the coldest days on in the record books.
Montgomery.
It was really frigid. And I remember when I went out there with a short sleeve shirt on, which is something I always did, even at Green Bay. And but I was very young, and it turned out to be a very positive experience for me to help me move up in the draft.
Yeah, that was a great All-Star game. No longer Blue-Gray. Always played on Christmas Day. It was cold the day that we played.
Montgomery, Alabama.
Blue-Gray All-Star game. We won. The South team won. Did you guys win that day?
I don't remember. All I know is I got in that shower real fast and stayed there for about an hour, and I was somewhat relieved. I really, it may sound stupid, but the score wasn't important to me. It was, hey man, did I impress the right people? And you both know what I mean. You have to impress these people.
Absolutely. You got to take a chance. You got to take a risk and try to do something special.
Combine in the combine used to be divided. Remember Billy and Paulie? It used to be divided, and you had a large group of teams at one place, and then you had a small group at another. And I remember going down to New Orleans, invited down, and I remember Al Davis coming up behind me, and I had no idea he was with University. I had no idea, but he tapped me on the shoulder and he's proud of you, man. You're doing well. And I said, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. And everyone knew Al Davis. He was it for the Raiders, and it was part of that, crossing over from what was to what could be. What was, what could be. And even though it was a hey man, a long shot. Oh man, if I just get an opportunity, and hey, Billy and I, we made a way through it, man.
All right, let's get into the subject for today here on Four Wheel Drive. nutrition and rest tips for peak performance. Okay, this is brought to you by Pensacola Glass, the clear choice for all your glass needs. You know, guys, during the season, the day before a game really is the most important time for nutrient absorption. A lot of people think the pregame meal might be vital. However, nutrients need a day to be broken down in your cells, and by kickoff 24 hours later is really the best time. Let's talk about rest real quick. Going to bed late at night and getting less than 8 hours of sleep reduces your cognitive brain and fine motor skills. According to the American Academy of Pediatrics, young athletes who sleep 8 hours or more each night are 68% less likely to be injured compared to athletes who regularly sleep less. And let me take note, Tom Brady used to sleep 9 to 10 hours every single night. So when I was coaching, I would ask my kids, you know, who wants to be great like Tom Brady? They all raise their hands. Who wants to, you know, do the sacrifices like Tom Brady? They all raise their hands. And I'm like, you guys, each one of them have no idea what you're talking about, because last night you did not do what Tom Brady did. He slept for 9 to 10 hours. When did you go to bed last night, Joey and Jimmy? And I would ask them, you know, so you're not doing everything that you can to be the best performance and less likely to get injured. I want to ask you guys about those two things about cell absorption and having the right foods. And we're going to talk a little bit in a minute about what a good diet is. But if you guys want to expound on those, go ahead.
Go ahead, Billy.
Well, you know, you're talking about rest and sleep. I think all three of us can remember back in high school and college and maybe some of the NFL stuff that, you know, we deprived our bodies a lot of sleep. I mean, I know I did to a degree. I mean, I don't know. I can't expound on exactly how much Blaze or you did, Paulie, but
right.
You know, we never. I remember back. You know, nutrition was a huge thing, but the rest part was not really a big factor.
Yeah. Back
when we played. I mean, we you know, and you remember we were in our 20s. You know, you're in your early 20s, and you might only needed three or 4 hours of sleep. And I remember when I was at the Jets. I mean, I was, you know, you're down in Manhattan, and I think I was sleeping 4 to 6 hours a week down there for the football season. You know, you were just one thing after another was going on, and sleep was the last thing on your mind. But
yeah,
you know,
now stuff. Yeah, we not being informed and knowledgeable about it probably did not help us at all.
Yeah, I mean, you look at performance now. I mean, they got performance coaches that are working every aspect of everything now with these guys. So there's personal mind coaches, there's sleep coaches, there's nutritionists, there's all this stuff. You know,
massage therapists. Every one of them has a massage therapist.
There is so much money involved in the game now, from right now from college all the way up. Maybe in the next 5 to 10 years, it might be high school all the way up. Who knows how far this NIL stuff's going to go? You know, so. You know, if you got the money to afford having a neurologist or a sleepologist on your staff, I mean, that's what they're doing now. I mean, everything is a scientific approach to the game.
I had Jeremy Reeves, who plays for the Commanders, on my show a few years ago, and this was like 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. And he told me he was spending $10,000 a month just on his body, on that kind of stuff, from nutrition. Blaze, talk about who maybe was ahead of their time when it came to nutrition and rest when you played in the NFL, and talk about.
Let me put my 2 cents in on the sleep part of it. High school's not a problem. You have your own bed. Your mom is prepping you with some food if you're fortunate. I always had the right, you know, oatmeal was there, you know, lighter carbs were there, simple sugars were there, and you know, I didn't know much about that, but she did. So she cared for me like a trader. She cared for me like a nutritionist. And my bed was my comfort zone, so I had no problem sleeping. College was a little bit different. I had to, first of all, get used to a roommate.
Right.
I love Billy, and Billy was very compatible, and I was very fortunate. To have the right roommate, so you have the ability to fall asleep. When I went to the pros, you're with a stranger until they become a friend and a teammate, and that is a huge problem. That later on today, you know what they're doing with players now? They're telling the pro player, "You have your own room," because they know how important sleep is, and some people don't sleep. When they turn the TV on, hey man, I can't sleep with that noise. Some people need complete silence, and other people want a little bit to fall asleep to. And it's really important. It is a incredibly important part of your life, even if you're not a football player. You've got to get that rest to be able to function mentally and physically. I know when I look at my older son, who's a musician, he never sleeps. And I can tell within a matter of a day or two, you haven't slept, have you? Why? Your brain is all over the place. Right. You're not thinking right. Right. It is so important. As far as nutrition, I learned it from that man up there. I learned it from him. When I came to college, my mom took care of me, so I never questioned it. When I came to college, it was like, there's a lot of food. Billy was the one way ahead of the curve when it came to Bill. Ken, talk about this nutrition. Billy, he was a developed dude coming into college. I was 201, Bill, 10 pounds.
Yeah,
Billy, who taught you nutrition?
I'll tell you what. I gotta give a shout out and a rest in peace. And I know Blaze remembers her. It was Doc Short, who was our nutritionist at SU.
Right.
And I'm going to tell you this. She was at least 25, 30 years ahead of her time with what she did.
Very true.
Wow.
I forgot about that.
And I just recently, it was probably 3 months ago, went to her wake and her funeral, and I talked to her kids and stuff like that, and I'm going to tell you, she was a godsend for us. And a lot of us didn't have a chance to sit down with her, and I sat down with her probably 2 to 3 times a week, and I passed on everything I learned from her down to whoever would listen. And I would sit with Blaze at training table, and now, Tripp, you remember back then, training table was during the season only. We didn't have breakfast, we didn't have lunch. We had just that training table during the season, not throughout the year. Now these guys got meal plans for them all the way through the season. So we had to do something on our own. So I was not a book guy, but I went with Doc Short. I sat down with her, and she was a huge football supporter. I mean, huge. Blaze, you remember her?
Yes,
you remember?
Very much so, yes.
I sat down with her back in 1980, 81, and the stuff that I learned from her, I took and I passed it on. And Blaze, I'm going to tell you, I used to sit with Blaze in training table. We started at 6 o'clock, and he wouldn't leave the table till almost 7:30, 8 o'clock. And what happened to Tripp?
I'm not sure. I remember those days, man. I remember you'd be sitting there with me, and I would be eating a dozen eggs every morning.
But the dinners that back then, you remember the dinners that was carbs and protein. I mean, that was what we based.
Our training camp at Alabama. If you graded a winner, you got to eat steak and shrimp every single night, the whole week. It's just like that was it. That was the whole menu for the week and training table. If
it does turn into something even bigger when you're getting paid a huge paycheck and you're trying to it's your work. It does become a part of your life, a job to share with your wife, or if you're doing it on your own, know what you're putting in front of you, know what you need to help you recover, know what you need to stay hydrated, and also to stay away from those things that are what? Going to poison you. I mean, this is the downfall, right, Billy, of our society, is that everywhere you look, the people are poisoning themselves. I mean, I had salmon last night with a plain baked potato and a whole load of broccoli and no butter on it. And people wonder why they're losing their minds. They wonder why there's dementia and Alzheimer's and so many diseases in our country. Hey, man, I really must give Billy a lot of credit. I mean, you are what you eat, man.
Trip.
It's a huge part of it. I'm feeling off.
Trip, she made me understand, and like I said, that the human body, especially the athlete's human body, is an engine for a car, and you've got to give it high tests to feed that engine and to perform the right way. Right. So the certain foods that we ate really accelerated your performance on the field. Now a lot of these kids nowadays don't eat breakfast. Breakfast, and I'll tell you this, breakfast is the biggest part of your day, and it always will be. I don't care what the food pyramid says.
Yeah,
your breakfast has to have carbs and protein in your breakfast. I don't care if you're eating bologna that is sliced out of the deli, or what kind of protein you're eating, but you have to start your day at 6 o'clock to 7:30 with protein. That's vital to start that engine.
All right, let's talk about that. Let's talk about what we should eat and how frequently we should eat, especially athletes, okay? And all the experts say eat frequently and at the correct time. Don't go more than 4 hours without eating. The most important times, as Billy noted, were breakfast and before and after workouts, okay? So let's talk about let's give like an example of a great days of a meal. Count on carbohydrates, folks. A strong all season long meal plan. Breakfast, 2 eggs, orange or half a grapefruit, oatmeal, bacon, toast. Let's say it's snack around 10 a.m. Half a cup of raw nuts, cashews, Brazil, almonds, and macadamia are the best. Lunchtime, get some lean ground beef, some rice, fresh vegetables, and you're good. Pre-practice snack. I know a couple of my players did this, and I did too. PBJ, peanut butter and jelly, and an apple. Okay? For dinner.
Add the bananas to the peanut butter and jelly.
Yes, bananas. Yes, very good. Dinner. Fish, chicken, sweet potatoes, and some green vegetables. So, and I'll give you another bonus tip that I used, and I found out when I was studying strength and conditioning, got my certification. Bonus tip: drink chocolate milk after workouts. It's a great and cheap recovery drink.
It is.
Yep.
Okay, you guys expound on what to eat, when to eat, and I found before and after workouts is a good time to eat.
Okay, you got to understand that everybody has a different metabolism. The human body's different as far as everybody's concerned. Now, you brought up some great points with what examples of what to eat. But people are on a budget. Some people don't have any money. Some people do. Any protein. I mean, I'd love to have lean meat. I love to have venison all the time. I grew up eating venison. Now it's the leanest meat you can eat. And people that don't understand what venison is, that's deer meat. So that is the leanest thing you can eat. But if you're on a budget and you're stuck, you got to have, if you cut to the chase here, your proteins and your carbs are vital. A little bit of vegetable in there, green stuff is great. But I'm talking even if you got to have shoe leather steak to get the protein, that it's $1.98 a pound. That any kind of protein is going to work.
Or Billy, like you said earlier, if you do have the money at the pro level, you have the money, you put on your shelf a lean protein, you put on your shelf the vitamins and minerals you need. So there's no excuse here. At the pro level, at the college level, the way it is now, they're being treated with a full a dining hall, 24 hours a day.
Now, hang on. Before you keep going, Paulie, I've got one tip for you for all these coaches out there that are coaching younger kids. The best way to take a younger kid that's learning nutrition and to give him discipline is to make him do a weekly diet. Make him write down in a notebook what he eats every meal every day for a week. Once he does that, make him do it for a month. Then go over the diet with him and read and just finalize some of the fine points in it. But now what you're teaching that kid is you're teaching him how to eat right, and you're teaching him what? Discipline. Discipline to write. And I'll say this. Think about you writing everything down in a notebook or a diary. It takes a lot of discipline to do.
Yes, it does.
Paulie, you see how blessed I was to have him?
Yeah.
You see how blessed? I mean, I had that dude who knew all this stuff in high school. I mean, there was a reason he was walking around 285 and benching near 500 pounds. I mean, and he never was a overweight dude. I mean, he was harder than a rock. And I'm like, what are you doing? He would teach me. He would sit near me and teach me. And that's a part of the process too, is being willing to understand you are what you eat. You really are what you eat. And you better understand, you want to perform at a high level consistently, you better understand what you're putting in your mouth.
Now, Paulie, we go back to Blaze's freshman year, Blaze always had an issue on keeping weight on, weight on. He fought all the way through college to get his body weight up. Blaze, am I right? They're wrong.
Oh, yeah, it was hard.
It was a struggle for him to keep his body weight up, but a good body weight, not a sloppy 280 or 275, but
a hard one, yeah.
But a hard rip 285. You know?
Yeah. Well, I like the fact.
One thing I do want to put out there, just one thing that's concerned to me, is I see fathers, and mostly with young kids in middle school. Billy, you know where I'm going on this. Paulie, you do too. And they're, hey man, you need to be 35 pounds heavier. That is not possible. What you will create, and I've seen it over and over and over, is you will create a eating disorder in that young person.
Right. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, you will. I like that. That's a great point. Billy made a super point about journaling and diaries. It's huge.
One last point, Paulie. With nutrition, the weight room goes hand in hand. That squat rack is the supporter of nutrition and getting bigger. It's no other exercise in the weight room. I don't care.
Hey, Billy, that's why you were ahead of your time when you went to college, because you had Oscar Jensen and George O'Leary. Yeah. I was ready. I wasn't ready to play at Alabama, but I was ready to compete at Alabama because of George O'Leary. Now, diaries, I think I got to talk about diaries real quick, and then we'll wrap this up. Journaling, you mentioned how I never even thought about journaling your nutrition for those guys, but I know the importance of journaling. I've done it. I've recommended it to all my players that ever went off to college. I told them before they went to school, keep a journal. You'll appreciate it years down the road. And I never thought it had an impact, right? I never, who does that and has an impact right away? Nobody. But I told Brandon Lockridge, this kid from Catholic is a baseball player. I didn't even coach him, but I had him on my show. And I gave him some advice to keep a journal. And he just made it to the majors with the San Diego Padres. Actually went to the playoffs, made the playoff roster. And I talked to him, and he said, Coach, you giving me advice on journaling helped me, because when I was struggling in the minors all those years, I journaled and I went back to the places when I was in a good spot, and helped me achieve my goals. Now, that's the importance in journaling right there. That's an example of why you should journal.
But the thing is, these kids, and I'll tell you, I've had over 500 kids come through my program, and the problem is there's not a lot of these. You got to have that mental discipline to sit down and do that every day, and to be, because a lot of them you can take 2% are might be your most are going to do.
You're right. You're right. You're absolutely right. Most of them won't do it.
Part of your journey. It is part of your journey. If you want to be the best you could be, it starts early. And I warn you again, it is not about, hey, put on 30, 40 pounds, son, you'll be a great offensive or defensive lineman. Right. No, man, you've got to be able to move in this sport. You have to be able to jump. You need to be able to push back. You need to be able to be everything. And you're not going to do that just by putting on weight from eating ice cream.
Right. Exactly. Good point, guys, man. You know, this is a lesson that they all should learn. Journal. Coaches, you should advise your kids on rest and nutrition. That's part of your job as a coach, to learn it.
Yes, it
teach
is.
Those kids, take note that you can be a better athlete, and it doesn't cost you a dime. Just a little discipline. As a matter of fact, next week, guys, we're going to stay tuned for next week's show, because we're going to talk about quotes. And I'm just going to give you an example of one of Saban's quotes. Do you want the pain of disappointment, or do you want the pain of discipline? That's what you have to ask these kids. And we're going to talk. Hey, we're going to talk more about sayings next week and quotes and maxims.
I love it.
Great show, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate
it.
Be
safe out there, Billy. You be safe now, all right? Don't shoot.
Yeah, be safe in that honey camp. Send us pictures of that, and save us some meat. Save us some venison.
All right,
man. Thanks a lot, Paulie. I love you guys.
Love you guys. Peace. Stay tuned for these short messages. What another great edition of Four Wheel Drive, everybody. Thanks for watching the show. Watch out for these commercials. Hey, stay tuned for a special guest Saturday morning, 10 o'clock on Coach's Corner. Coach Bill Tate. You don't want to miss that. So long, everybody.
There's a reason why Hill Kelly in Pensacola is the #1 selling Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram dealer between Jacksonville and New Orleans. While other dealers have taken advantage of a competitive market with higher prices, Hill Kelly has discounted prices to the lowest of the year. And Hill Kelly in Pensacola won't surprise you with excessive charges beyond the selling price. Come see why people from Milton, Pace, Foley, Bay Minette, Daphne, Gulf Shores, Mobile, and beyond are driving to Hill Kelly in Pensacola to buy their next new Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, or Ram. At Hill Kelly, the bottom line price and your satisfaction are what really matter. So before you sign, check the bottom line and make the trip to Hill Kelly in Pensacola to see what true local ownership can do for you. At Hill Kelly Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Highway 29 in Car City, Pensacola. Or shop online 24/7 at HillKellyDodge.com. When it comes to bottom line pricing, nobody beats a Hill Kelly deal. Nobody.
75 years of service in high tech today. It's Pensacola Glass Company at 433-8348. High tech is a term often applied to advanced services and products in today's marketplace. And today, glass is much more than the simple painted brittle, see-through stuff we hit baseballs through when we were kids. Glass is now a product with unique flexibility in both performance and application. And Pensacola Glass Company is growing right along. That's Pensacola Glass Company at 433-8348.
Are you riding around in a filthy vehicle? Dirty car no more. Visit Ronnie's Car Wash today to get it shining in no time. They have 3 convenient locations with another coming soon. The unlimited monthly wash packages start as low as $14.95 per month with free vacuums, multi-purpose spray, and towels. Visit them in Gulf Breeze, Navarre, Fort Walton, and soon Crestview. Don't wait, wash today. Be sure to see Ronnie's Car Wash on Facebook to see the latest specials and discounts. You'll be riding and shining in no time.
That's you trying to fix the plumbing yourself to save a few bucks. Doing things yourself doesn't always end well. The same goes for insurance. That's why Auto Owners works with local independent agents who tailor coverage to meet your needs and offer discounts for life, home, car, and business insurance. Because sometimes you need a professional to get the job done right. That's simple human sense.
My name is Steve Reynolds. I'm the manager and owner of Cordova Lanes, and we help keep your mind out of the gutter. Cordova Lanes is part of the community of Pensacola. Being here for 43 years, we've entertained more people than any other bowling center in the city. We sell fun for a living. Cordova Lanes is located at 2111 Airport Boulevard in Pensacola, behind Cordova Mall. Come on out and see us at Cordova Lanes Bowling Center. Thank you.